It's now my honor to introduce the first plenary that we're going to have for the day, which is on dual enrollment. And I'm extremely excited about this, given that our chair, Governor Steve Bullock, has chosen this as his chair's initiative. So I'd like to go ahead and invite Governor Steve Bullock of Montana, Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa, and Dr. Rebecca Watts, who is the Associate Vice Chancellor of P16 Initiatives for the state of Ohio, to the stage. And while you're coming up and getting situated, I want to tell a quick little story about dual enrollment, but personalize it. For those of you who were with us to celebrate our 50th anniversary last year at the National Forum, I introduced you to Tyler. Tyler graduated high school a year ago, May. Tyler went to a high school called Allen Central High School in Kentucky that was very rural and very poor. The high school was 400 total students, graduating class usually around 75 or 80, and a free and reduced lunch rate of 77%. By the numbers, Tyler actually should not be the one that we would consider going to college. When you look at the slide that's up, you will see that it is the low-income rural high schools that have the lowest college-going rate. And by this rate, it's someone who graduates in May and by August is enrolled and attending a class at some post-secondary institution. So by the numbers, Tyler's not the one we would expect to be succeeding. Yet he is. Thanks to hard work, but Tyler's succeeding thanks to dramatic work done by his counselors, his teacher, his principal, his school board, and a partnership between Allen Central High School and Big Sky Community College and Technical College. You see, Tyler was offered opportunities and graduated with an associate's degree 2 weeks before he got his high school degree. Tyler is an amazing story. 67 credit hours at the age of 18, and he was accepted into the University of Kentucky in the School of Engineering and Management. Every one of you has a Tyler and multiple students like Tyler in your states, but your policies are usually not statewide. Every state has dual enrollment policies, but not all of them are statewide and making it equitable for every student to have the same opportunities that Tyler did. That's why we're really excited to have this plenary panel and to have Governor Bullock leading the discussion on dual enrollment and policies that can make a difference for you. Governor Bullock?
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Thank all of you certainly for being here. I know that we have 52 Teachers of the Year, so the only thing, I thought you did a great job, Jeremy, but this is a conference that is sold out. It's not a sellout crowd. None of us are certainly sellouts. We're here to actually, in whatever capacity we might be, to ensure that our education system, P through 20, is as effective and meaningful as possible, because maybe the most important thing that we can do as policymakers, as educators, as others, is recognizing that for every parent, education is the most important thing happening in their lives. So that we have to be taking those steps to ensure, whatever capacity they are, that we're fulfilling those obligations and the promise that education provides. A year ago, I took over as chair of ECS, and I said at the time that I wanted to make dual enrollment my initiative for the next 2 years. And I said then, and I say now, that I think that we really do have that obligation to make sure that every one of the students in our states is college and career ready. And dual enrollment, from my perspective, making sure that high school students can get college credits, is foundational to doing so. And from my perspective, the opportunity isn't just for that highest achiever. It's for that student that may have never in his life or her life been told that he or she was college material. If we can reach those students while they're in the relatively safe confines of high school, we're going to change kids' lives. It'll be more and more of the Tylers all throughout. And what we've seen in Montana, too, is that as we've looked at longitudinal studies of our high school students that then go on to college, that it's actually those lower achievers, relatively, the B and the C students, where there are the greatest gains in retention, progress toward a degree, and GPA than even the higher achievers. So the opportunities here, I think, are significant. Over the last 3 years, we've doubled the student participation in dual enrollment in Montana, and we recognize ultimately that that also is saving families dollars. I can look to about $3 million in tuition savings that the parents have received as more and more of our kids, our students, are getting college credit while still in high school. I think that growth is, as we look at how are we doing it, and we still have a long way to go, certainly in Montana and many other places, but it's spurred by strategic initiatives that have targeted access, targeted affordability, and then increased value to students. When it comes to access, I don't recall if I mentioned it last time, but we started a pilot to figure out how can we make sure more of our high school teachers are both incentivized and qualified to be teaching college courses. So we started a credit for credit coupon program, where if a high school student is qualified to teach a college course and is willing to teach that 3-credit college course, we'll give them a coupon for 3 credits that can be used at any one of our colleges or universities in the state, or indeed our tribal colleges. They can use that coupon to up their individual skills. They can use it for one of their kids that might be in college, or we've seen them paying it forward. One of their students in their class that college might be a little bit more challenging affordability-wise, giving that coupon to that senior in high school and saying, you can use it in the next year. Our universities then are recognizing that as we're bringing more and more and wanting to get more and more of our high school student teachers qualified to teach college, that they have an obligation too to meet them where they are. And our universities are providing graduate content looking to credential up, more and more online, more and more summer offerings. The first year of this 2-year pilot resulted in a 15% increase in the number of teachers delivering dual enrollment in their high school and 50 new courses across our state. Another issue is really affordability. We all have to recognize those high school students won't necessarily have the opportunity for student loans while still in high school. So how can we ensure that cost isn't the prohibitive factor from keeping our students from taking the college classes while in high school? Some states have certainly removed all barriers, and it's all ultimately free. And in Montana, we've done a mix. It's a lot less expensive, certainly, to get a college credit while in high school than it will be once you matriculate onto our college campuses. One of our institutions, Flathead Valley Community College, offers the first 6 dual enrollment credits completely free to students in their area. We recognize our largest city is Billings, yet we don't have the degree of penetration of dual enrollment that I'd like to see. So we're doing a pilot through our high schools and the colleges saying that for the next 2 years, I think it is, that all fees are waived if students take dual credit courses. That college ultimately is not only serving one of the largest it is the largest school district, but one of the most socioeconomically diverse. So if we can remove the financial barriers for thousands of students, I think we'll get that much further. Certainly, ultimately, too, be it the parent or the student, that we have to be demonstrating value. Demonstrating the clear value for all students for taking these courses. We can do it with both the promise of what the credit is, but also tying it at times to industry-recognized credentials. What we've been doing with our 2-year colleges is saying it's more than always about a degree. We want them to have something, that piece of paper, a credential, an industry-recognized credential that can be taken anywhere. We're bringing that to the high schools as well. Value also certainly means transferability. To recognize that that college credit that they receive will be recognized in other places. Montana undertook common course numbering throughout our entire public university system, which took that barrier away. With the credentials too, and helping those high school, the Tylers that he points out, that Jeremy points out, it's so exciting as I see in our state everything from associate's degrees in computing to advanced manufacturing and welding. Seeing students that are graduating high school with that credential or that degree, we're doing a lot of that in healthcare as well, and knowing that they are career ready immediately. There are employers out there that want to hire them even as they also look at the opportunities for further skills development. I think educating students, educating more students quicker, for less money, in a rigorous, high-quality, dual enrollment course is going to benefit those students and their families, certainly our employers, but indeed our overall state. I'm so pleased to be joined on the panel by the Lieutenant Governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, and Rebecca Watson, self-described, or described by Jeremy as the P20 czar for Ohio. Let's start with each of you, provide the audience with a little bit of an overview of either what your state can do or approaches that states can take to enhance dual enrollment access and other things. Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
Well, Governor Bullock, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you, as well as Rebecca and Jeremy, and to have the opportunity for all of you gathered for the ECS National Forum. The biggest outcome, I think, for opportunities like this is to be able to network and take away best practices and take those back to your states and adapt them to what your state looks like. So I've already wrote down credit coupon. So I will be looking that up and checking that out when I go back to Iowa. So I think you'll see some similarities as well as some differences that we're doing in Iowa. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to share some of the exciting news that's coming from Iowa. And really, what we see as some very, very exciting news is the number of students that we have in Iowa earning dual credit, and that number is soaring. The number of high school students taking community college courses has increased this year to an all-time record high. We have 44,000 students in fiscal year 15 that are taking community college courses. And the good news is, to put that into perspective, that number was less than 20,000 a decade ago. And in fact, if you look at the number taking community college courses from fiscal year 2004 to fiscal year 2015, we've increased that by 109 percentage points. So we're really, really excited about that. And that 44,000 number of students means that 30% of high school students are taking at least one community college course. And of course, 12th grade, that's the big year. And so what that equated to in fiscal year 15 was 50% of 36,000 Iowa seniors were enrolled in community college courses. So I'm really, really proud of the increase in awareness and really the scalability that we're seeing across the state. And in fact, Iowa is leading the nation in the number of students that are taking community college courses. Students are taking these classes at our high schools. They have the opportunity to take them at regional academies, community colleges, or online. So we're trying to keep the flexibility there so we can meet students with where they're at. Iowa's offering amazing academic opportunities to high school students, and those opportunities, you'll hear some similarities here, really include career technical education such as architecture, construction, engineering, advanced manufacturing, welding, automotive technology, health sciences, and of course, computer technology. We also have, with those, the more traditional courses, English, language arts, and social sciences, as well as history. And as a result, Iowa high school students have really far more academic choices than they would have otherwise had, especially Iowa is a very rural state. We have small school districts all across our state. So this is a tremendous opportunity for our students in rural communities across Iowa. And it also helps acclimate them to higher education coursework, as well as kind of easing the transition between high school and post-secondary education. And really, as the statistics play out, preparing them for success, and that's what it's all about, I think, to make sure that they're successful once they enter into that post-secondary education. It was mentioned also for students and families, it saves money by shortening the student's time to post-secondary credentialing, to a post-secondary credential. And since in Iowa, they pay nothing for the dual credit courses that are taken in high school. So I too have a couple stories that's really reflective of what I hear as I have the opportunity to travel to all 99 counties in Iowa. Noah Jurgensen, for example, he graduated in May of this year from, this would be a small rural school district, a 200-student Patron-Churdan community school district with about a semester worth of community college credits. And the courses that Noah was able to take was statistics, composition, and survey of animal industry. And Noah plans to study ag at Iowa State University in the fall, and then his hopes is to return home and help his family operate the family farm. So Noah's semester of community college credits was worth about $3,400 in tuition at Iowa State University. And that's real money for kids that are trying to control the cost of higher education. One more example is Abigail Engelman, and she's a graduate of Ames High School, and she graduated in May of 2015, but Abigail had a year of community college credit. And so what that meant for her is it made it possible for her then to graduate in May of 2016 from a 2-year culinary arts program at Des Moines Area Community College, and her cost savings for the year of taking those community colleges courses and high school was about $5,000 in tuition. So today, Abigail, she works full-time as a personal assistant to a real estate professional, but the really cool news is she started a part-time baking business specializing in gluten and dairy-free desserts. So she's ready to start up that next small business, and we all know that's how we're going to continue to grow our economy and keep it vibrant. So, she said after starting at DMAC that she really, kind of after the fact, understood the value of earning college credit in high school and really the opportunity that it provided for her. So I think sometimes maybe that's our best marketing tool, is to get to these kids, get them back in the high schools and have them talk one-on-one with the students about the value and the cost savings that it provided for them by being aggressive and taking advantage of the opportunities. The opportunity is available to students across Iowa, I would say, for 3 main reasons. First of all, in 2000, they put it into legislation that really mandated that it be part of the mission of not only school districts but of community colleges to make these courses available. We have a reliable state funding stream through the state aid foundation formula, and just the culture, I think, really increasingly recognizing the importance of rigorous coursework for high school students to make sure that they're better prepared for college or career training. I'll give you a brief summary of kind of Iowa's funding stream, but listen, this is a big picture, and if you want more details of kind of what I've gone over this afternoon, it's available online at educateiowa.gov. But most of it is done through a contractual 2080 agreement between the community colleges and the school districts. In fact, 88% of the high school students that are earning college credits in fiscal year 15 participated with, under a contractual agreement, a 2080 between the community college and the school districts. And then Iowa's School Foundation aid formula, we provide about $22 million a year in weighted funding for kids to be able to take advantage of taking those courses. In addition to that, we spend about $550,000 a year in weighted funding for their access at the regional and career academies, and for AP classes is about $500,000. 2 other options exist for high school students to take college courses. One is the Post-Secondary Enrollment Options Act, or PSEO, and that's where it can be used for a 2 or 4-year public-private colleges where students can take courses that the district doesn't already offer. So school districts, when a student utilizes that option, they pay $250 per student per course at a 2 or 4-year public or private college, and we see about 7% of our students using that versus the 88. The other route is just families paying their own tuition, and we see about 5% of the high school students utilizing that option. So we've seen some great results from the investment in dual credits. The class of 2015, we had 4,132 seniors, about 11% earned at least 1 year of college credit, and 418 2-year degrees or certifications that you talked about were issued to high school students also in fiscal year 15. So we know we want to continue to do everything that we can to improve those results, and One of the ways that we've started this year to continue to drive the momentum is with an initiative called Future Ready Iowa, and that's where we have a goal of making sure that 70% of Iowa students have either education or training, have education or training beyond high school by the year 2025. And right now, about half of the people in the workforce do. So it's a pretty ambitious goal, but we really believe it's the right thing to do. As we develop the strategy to reach that goal, we absolutely know that it's critical to have more students graduate with college credit and put them on the path to that success. So I don't know if, maybe they're not doing the slides. We've got a map that shows the percentage, there it is, of the community college courses throughout the state. The white areas actually are districts without high school, so that's not an area we've missed. But all 312 districts with high schools have some community college enrollment. That share is varied, so it's anywhere from 64% of them taking advantage of it to single digits, so we want to try to even that out. So some of the challenges include really providing more equitable access to the variety of college credit courses, and particularly we want to take a look at career technical education because there's just a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for our students in those fields. Finding enough qualified teachers to teach dual credit courses on high school campuses. Typically that needs to be a master's degree, and just again really working with the school districts to encourage them to enthusiastically promote the opportunities to earn college credit, especially in fields that are leading to high demand jobs. So confident that we're going to get there. We're going to continue to working on it, and I look forward to taking back what I hear this afternoon from the opportunity to be here. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. It is inspirational of what's happening in Iowa for certain. And Czar? What's happening in Ohio right now?
So there are lots of things happening in Ohio, and before I start to talk really about our formal, relatively new dual enrollment program in the state, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that we feel that it's important that students have advanced learning opportunities across kind of a variety of models. So we have articulated credit and we have transcripted credit. So when we talk about those learning opportunities, we want to make sure that advanced placement is in the discussion, that international baccalaureate is in the discussion, and even that CLEP is in the discussion, because when you look at those opportunities to have articulated credit, students can be earning credit while it's not directly immediately appearing on a transcript. In Ohio, we have a statewide policy for AP that if a student scores 3 or above on an AP exam, they are provided guaranteed articulated credit for the course for a waived course at the public institutions in Ohio. That guarantee does not transfer to our private institutions necessarily, but I will tell you that many of them voluntarily offer that credit. We had recent legislation that was passed that required each of our public institutions in Ohio to adopt a policy as it relates to awarding articulated credit for international baccalaureate work that was done in elementary and secondary schools for those students. So that credit is following, and we are now working on a statewide CLEP policy. When we do this work, the legislature says you shall do this, but to get it really done, it's very key to have faculty at the table, and faculty across all types of institutions, from your highly selective institutions to your open access institutions, so that they can come to a common understanding about what sorts of student learning baseline knowledge and skills and mastery should be present when they come in with this credit. And because we have, in Ohio, we have the Ohio Transfer Module and Transfer Assurance Guides, if you approve it at Ohio State, that means that it's also approved at Miami University and Columbus State Community College. So regardless of the selectivity of the institution, there is this statewide articulation network where those credits are guaranteed to transfer for students. So that's backing up a little bit and not talking directly about our program, but it's an important thing about the credit and the skills and knowledge that they've earned, that it's awarded to them when they matriculate. And now I'll talk a little bit about our College Credit Plus program. We just finished the first academic year of implementation of this new program, and it is a successor to our previous post-secondary enrollment option. College Credit Plus requires all public schools, all public colleges, and all public universities to participate. It allows all private institutions of higher education and all private middle school and secondary schools to participate. One of the things that is in the law is that you can participate as early as 7th grade.
Oh.
To do so, however, you must demonstrate that you are college ready. And so to do that, you need this common definition of what it means to be college ready. As a proxy for that, in Ohio, we have used the statewide uniform remediation-free standards that are in place for all of our public institutions, and those thresholds have been used. Although I will tell you, as I talk about hurdles, you'll hear me reference this piece again, but it is a required program for all public institutions, and it's also available through a special appropriation to homeschool students and non-public school students. So that bucket of money that goes for the non-public school students is also shared by the homeschool students. I will also tell you that the appropriation is, at least historically to this point after year one, is never enough to meet the demand. There's always great demand, a greater demand than the appropriation allows. And so as we work with our governor and our legislators on that issue, you look at that in kind of in the big scheme of things and how we can help students the most. So College Credit Plus essentially is a system whereby the state subsidy for a public school student is used for this College Credit Plus enrollment in a college course. And the college course can be delivered in a multitude of ways. It can be delivered by a credentialed teacher that holds the requisite graduate degree at the high school, or it can be delivered at the college or university campus, or it can be delivered online. So there are multiple modes of delivery. There are ceilings and floors to what per credit hour rate that state subsidy reduction comes from the school district to the post-secondary institution that is participating. Again, there's a ceiling and a floor. Prior to this, in our old PSEO model, there were negotiations kind of all over the state where the amount that the local school districts were paying for the PSEO opportunities for their students varied so broadly across the state, and we did not gather that data. We didn't gather those data centrally, nor did we gather data centrally on everyone who was participating in the old program. So we are operating a little bit from after year one, we don't have much of a baseline to compare it to for prior years. So this is another big initiative, is that the law required that data be gathered on all aspects of the program, on the quality of the courses, on the student performance in the courses. Are they passing? Does it appear that everyone's getting A's? So that would, raise a red flag of grade inflation. Are they struggling? That would raise a red flag about, are they truly college ready before they enter these courses? So the requirements to gather and analyze data around this program are essential to assuring that it is successful and meeting the goal moving forward. As I referenced a little bit of our challenges, as I said, our community colleges are required to participate, and they are, by law, open access institutions. There is some concern among our P12 partners that the college and career readiness aspect of the admission process isn't occurring, and that they're taking all comers because, quite frankly, they see a revenue stream and they see an opportunity to bring students in. So we will be very closely looking at the data. We will have that July 15th, not that I'm counting, but we'll have those data available to us July 15th so we can start to analyze really how have students done in this first year. And then we can know if the concerns that we've heard anecdotally from our P12 partners are valid and backed up by data, that in fact students are being admitted to the program, participating in the program, when in fact they're not ready for college level coursework. So that's one of our hurdles. Another hurdle that we've had as it relates to the funding is the parameters around it state that a student cannot be more than 100% enrolled. So we have a calculus that you apply to how many high school courses that they're taking, and then what gap is there in their full 100% subsidy for them to then use a portion of that subsidy to participate in what number of credit hours at the college level. And so the concern from the P12 schools is that they're seeing a loss of state subsidy, and that they're seeing their students in many instances leave their high school campuses and therefore kind of leave that whole mise en scene in the high school, where they're not participating in some of the co-curricular activities at the high school and losing a little bit of the feeling of being a high school student. And so funding and then kind of student experience are two of the hurdles that we've seen so far. The law requires that the P12 school partner pay for all the textbooks and learning materials for the participating students. And if you are staying abreast of any of the textbook costs, research that are out there, that is a huge cost. And then we get into these, I'll give you this one example. A robotics class, it is required that each student purchase a robot. So then the P12 schools are saying, okay, now we've purchased that robot. Do we get to keep that and use it for the students that are in that course next year? From a policy perspective, we're saying, yes, you do. You own the textbooks, so the student, after they participate, instead of selling their textbooks back, like we see on college campuses so much, they return those textbooks and those materials to the P12 partner that purchased them. But if you also know kind of the practice in post-secondary education, faculty members change the edition of a textbook that they use fairly frequently. And that's why the used textbooks don't necessarily have that much value when you resell them. So that's a policy issue and almost a practice issue that we're looking at from a hurdle perspective, but not an unattainable goal that we could overcome that by having faculty cooperation and cooperation between the partners. Of course, credentialed faculty, like you both mentioned, is one of our challenges. And we see kind of the biggest hurdle that the College Credit Plus program hoped to overcome was that we saw pockets of the state. Thank you for sharing your Iowa map, because we see pockets of the state where prior to College Credit Plus, there were few advanced placement opportunities in those very small, poor rural schools, as Jeremy referenced earlier. There weren't many IB opportunities in those same schools, yet the participation in the PSEO option was little to nothing. And we don't really have, we don't have data on what was the root cause of that low participation. It could be any number of things. Low awareness, schools' concern about losing the subsidy, therefore not really promoting the opportunity to their students. So the new program has really kind of addressed that, addressed those gaps in delivery and access for students all across our state, regardless of where they live and regardless of their affluence or their poverty. I talked about the transfer opportunities, and so among our public institutions, course for course, these courses transfer. Here's another hurdle that we have. If you are allowed to, as the program allows, if you are allowed to supplant a required course in high school, let's say High School English 3. If you are allowed to supplant that course and not take that high school course because you're taking English composition at the college or university, in Ohio, our high school graduation requirements require that you pass the end of course assessment for that high school course. So in many instances, what we'll have is students not taking a high school course, taking instead a college course, but having to go back to the high school and take an assessment for a course that they never took. So the stakes are relatively high for them because their high school graduation requires that they pass that assessment, but the stakes are very high for the P12 partners as well because it ends up on the school and district report card how those students perform on those end of course assessments. So once again, as we look at course for course waivers and transfers here, there are implications both for the students and for the public accountability for the P12 partners here. I guess for lessons learned, and I'll end with this, faculty credentials, this is not a new issue, but it has certainly come to light with the advent of this program. And we have heard the policy arguments about, well, I have a nationally board certified teacher, that should count as being a qualified college or university faculty member. And we know that from our state's requirements at higher ed, but also from our regional accreditors, that is not sufficient. You have to have a master's degree in the content area for the course that you are teaching. And so lessons learned are, Dr. Susan Zellman helped us with this because we have the Straight A grant in Ohio and she oversees that grant, and we had a significant portion of funding from that grant this past year go for graduate level coursework for high school teachers so that more of these courses can be delivered on the high school campus to a little bit lessen the concerns that the P12 partners have here. And then finally, courses allowed, and I guess I'll end with this, a little bit of a challenge and how, from a policy perspective, we have to deal with these things. In looking at our data for the first year, we had students learning to fly under College Credit Plus. And I don't know if the participating student, well, I don't know what grades they were in, but it's possible that they didn't have their own driver's license yet, but they were learning to fly. And the associated fees are then the burden for the college or university to cover. So one of the things that is in some legislation that didn't move in the spring session, but may get picked up in the fall, is there a need to limit the types of courses that students can take under these opportunities? And I'll say there are two other examples, Zumba and cardio kickboxing. So maybe there is a need to look a little bit at some limiting factors to those courses.
Great. Thank you both. We've covered a lot of ground. Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. We've already covered a lot of ground. I'll ask a couple questions, or if either of you have questions, well, then we can open up to questions from others. But it's still for me to make sure I understand, because both of you are really doing some pretty innovative things, to make sure that I understand the funding issues in both states. So if I understood correctly, like if in Ohio, let's say that the high school student is taking 50% of her courses at a college degree, then 50% of the A and B, or the money that would have gone to that high school, then goes to the college. Now, then is it completely free for the students, and what are the challenges, I guess, with this overall funding model? And if you could also unpack this contract 2080, you went right past me.
Sure. So if the student is not socioeconomically disadvantaged and they choose to participate at a private institution, the law allows for the private institution to charge tuition above and beyond that subsidy. It is also possible for the high schools, the school districts, to negotiate a rate within the ceiling and the floor of the subsidy per credit hour that goes to the post-secondary institution. But it is entirely a student choice driven program. So your district might have a negotiated rate with college X over here, but as a student, I may say, I don't like their courses, or I don't like they don't offer what I want. I'm going to go to college Y over here, and you don't have a negotiated rate with them. So you have to pay, the default rate is the ceiling rate. And it is calculated based on, it's not a full 100%, regardless of what the student participates in. The high school keeps a portion of the subsidy. It's not the full portion of the subsidy for that time that the student is away. But gotcha. Yeah, but the only students that might have to pay are those that choose to go to a private post-secondary institution, and only if they are not socioeconomically disadvantaged. Gotcha. Otherwise, it's free for the students.
And is everyone pleased with this rate? Meaning both, both the high schools and the colleges, are they saying that this works funding-wise?
There are strong opinions on both sides.
You should run for office.
And those opinions have been voiced multiple times in testimony before the legislature. The high schools feel that it is too much of a burden, fiscal burden for them because of the loss of the state subsidy. The post-secondary institutions, and this is a gross generalization, this is not everyone is dissatisfied, but these are some of the things we've heard. The post-secondary institutions feel like it's not enough. If one thinks it's too much and one thinks it's not enough, maybe it's about right. And I guess the other piece of this is parents and students are very happy.
Yeah. Great. Lieutenant Governor.
That's probably a good place to start, right? Yeah. Parents and students are very happy.
So with the formula, did you say it was a contractual agreement, 2080?
And they're not required to do that, but 88% of the school district and community college participate with some type of a contractual agreement between the two, between one of the 15 community colleges in the school district. So the bulk of the districts and the community colleges participate in that. It's a win-win for both. We talk a lot about partnerships. Well, the value that it brings to high schools with the ability to offer courses that the students wouldn't have, to be able to reduce the cost for students students for higher education, but also for the community colleges, because actually about 19% of their total credit hours actually comes from the high school students that are participating in the dual enrollment. So that's, that's revenue for the community colleges. So, and it's part of their mission. So they're invested by legislation for the school districts. And then it also really builds that pipeline to higher education into the community colleges, because they're building that relationship with them too. So while the contractual agreement or the 2080 is not required, the majority of them do participate in that. We do it a little bit different. So I said it's a state supplemental aid, so it's $22 million. So we take the per pupil funding, and then there's about 4 other steps that go into that. Some of the courses that are offered are weighted based on what the course is, and I believe it is the School Budget Review Committee, working with the Department of Management, they decide what that weighting is, so that's a part of the formula for the school districts, and then it's based on the number of students participating in the program, and based on that, then a weighted funding is distributed to the school districts. It goes to the school districts, and then they're responsible for paying the community colleges. And again, go online, because you only know what you know, and so it's very detailed, and it walks you through samples, and I think it gives a very, very good overview of how the funding is broke down.
Do you know, are the students responsible for fees, books?
Nope, it's included in
That's
that.
great.
So when we do have limited courses, so the school...
No airplane flying
No,
in
no,
Iowa.
they annually they decide what courses are available, and the school board does that with the school district and the community college, so that's decided annually. And then, maybe that was it. I was trying to think what else, I was taking notes as you were talking.
And I assume if it's been around since 2000, I mean, the buy-in from your legislature, they're there, and it's significant.
Very, very supportive of the program. In fact, in 2008, we did, it's called the Senior Plus, so very similar to what you were talking about, but that, it really standardized the options and made it so that they were more consistent across the state. I know the other thing that I was going to say, sometimes if the schools run short, so funding still continues to be an issue, but the schools do have the option to use their general fund to allow additional students to have the opportunity to take the courses. So if it's not enough, they do have the flexibility to put some additional funding into it. And as we've seen more and more students really participating in it, we may need to look at the weighting and look at the jobs that are available and make sure we're maybe heading them in the right direction for them, again, to be successful and to meet the needs of the industry that's really growing in each of our reflective states. And so there's some opportunities for us to take a look at it from that perspective too, to help them maybe try different things but make better choices.
And Rebecca, this just started a year ago. What was the driving impetus to do so?
Not enough students were getting college credit while they were in high school. There was a governor and legislature were very concerned about the fact that there was an existing program in place whereby they could do that, but too many students were not availing themselves of the opportunity, and we have a big push, as you might expect that all states do, a big push on college completion. Well, this is a huge, huge help if you can get them a head start while they're in high school. As we heard about Tyler, I mean, he's halfway there. Yeah. And so there's a concern that students are not availing themselves of the opportunity. And because it was from a variety of barriers, they wanted to have legislation that really addressed as many of those barriers as could be identified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen in Montana dual enrollment students 7 to 17% higher rates of retention, with even after the first year, significantly greater progress toward a degree, and GPA's greater. And it is great because it's across the board. Again, it's not just the A students that you knew would get there no matter what. Questions from the audience? I don't know are we going to run microphones around? Or?
Got some mic runners coming.
I bet we can.
Thank you, Governor and panelists. And you started to get to my question at the end. What about other key performance indicators of the dual enrollment, such as student attendance in high school, graduation rate in high school, completion rates of career and technical programs, as well as completion rate toward a college degree. Have you studied that, and are you seeing better results? I know you just started a year, but you've been at it quite a long time, Lieutenant Governor. Have you seen performance improvement there?
We have seen performance improvement from that perspective, but I think that's really going to be, I talked about some of the strategy with the Future Ready Iowa initiative, and that is data that we'll be taking a look at so that we can make the correct decisions going forward based on what we've seen done, not only historically, but moving forward also. You know, we have really seen some great movement in the state of Iowa. I've never seen partnerships working like I have ever before in the state, and I'm talking Department of Education, workforce development, economic development, public-private schools, community colleges, nonprofit, unions. I mean, there's just such a necessity to find skilled workforce in the state of Iowa. We have an economy that's growing, and everybody understands the mission. And we're bringing business and industry into the schools with the regional academies. We're really trying to expose students to the opportunities that are available. We're putting together a dashboard, again, to help them with the availability of the dual enrollment. Here's some different professions. Here's the education or the certification requirements that are necessary. Here's what that costs. Here's what you can save by doing this now. Here's your return on investment. So this is what you can make in the career that you select. And then the final piece that we're going to put on the dashboard is, oh, by the way, here's 14 companies in this industry in Iowa that has 20 to 50 job openings right now. So it keeps them in our state. It helps get them the skills that they need to be successful. And it's imperative for us to continue to see the economy grow. So all of that is coming together. And I just see, I'm sure you all are too, everybody's at the table really doing everything that they can to help our students be successful.
Yeah, we still have more work to do on the studying, but it's, Pell students retention 18% higher than the average first-year population, two-tenths higher GPA. They complete their first year of college with an average of 7 credits ahead of their peers.
Yeah.
I mean, the anecdotal piece, perhaps, is recognizing for all of you in high school education. I mean, making sure that we're meeting students and giving them a relevant education. We're seeing more and more in our high schools that the students are demanding some of the hands-on. I mean, demanding that, we know the needs for advanced manufacturing and welding, not only in our state, but in every one of our states, is so significant as we go in the future. And employers are asking for it, but then the students getting that opportunity. Same in healthcare fields as well.
Yeah, very good.
Other questions? Sir. Oh, another sir.
She has
Or
to
ma'am.
hang on to the microphone.
Yeah.
So I really like your, let me get this right, credit for credit coupon program.
I know, I want to
Can-
hear more about that.
And can our two other presenters talk a little bit about how you incentivize or how you get high school teachers to teach those classes?
So I referenced the state aid grant a little bit earlier, and that is a competitive grant process that we had whereby the dollars are awarded for teachers to get graduate credit. So they're getting graduate coursework funded by the state, and it moves them along on the salary schedule. So, I mean, if you think about it from a compensation perspective, they can focus their own professional development and growth in ways that gives them fiscal rewards, and really it's something that the state is helping to provide. So that's one of the incentives that we have in place.
And that's probably an area that we really need to work on. We passed transformational education reform in 2013, and it's a very comprehensive teacher leadership compensation package, and it really drives recruitment, retainment for our teachers. It gives them the opportunity to continue or develop in their profession by taking on a lead, a mentor, or being a model teacher. By the time that we have this completely implemented, we phased it in over 3 years, we'll have 25% of our teachers in leadership. So hopefully maybe by setting the foundation from that, we can continue to drive different incentives or different ways that we can move the needle on that. It's a problem, and it's something we're taking a look at. So that's one of the hurdles that we need to continue to address.
And I think even with the coupons, we all do. It's interesting. A lot of educators have said, this is so much better than, a step up in salary or what have you, because I'm putting my kids now through college,
Yeah.
as they say, and
I
it's
love it.
better than any bonus you could give me.
Yeah.
Really exciting and inspiring to hear what your states are doing around dual credit. In my state, Oregon, we've also seen a significant increase in dual credits awarded, and we've recently adopted new standards for models that permit high school teachers who don't have the master's degree in their subject to offer dual credit or teach dual credit classes under supervision from college or university faculty. But my question has to do with some of the skepticism that I've heard from some higher education leaders around the dual credit push, usually quietly, not something you'll necessarily hear publicly, which is that we're loading up students with college credits, but they get to college or university and they are placed into remedial, or we say developmental education courses. And so they may have real barriers. They're not college ready in certain key respects. And I wonder what your response to that concern maybe.
That should, in Ohio, that should not be the case, because students are not eligible to participate in College Credit Plus until they have shown that they are college ready. And the thresholds right now, we encourage multiple measures approaches, but the bright line is achieving a particular score on a large-scale standardized assessment, the ACT, the SAT, the AccuPlacer. So it should not be the case that any student who participates in College Credit Plus would subsequently matriculate and be placed in remedial courses after they've graduated.
We too have qualifications that they have to meet in order to take it. I'm sure there's still some remediation that's taking place with the education reform that we put in place, the STEM initiative that we have going on. We need to do a better job of making sure the kids are leaving high school but more prepared, and so that's a big piece of it. But so students need to be ready, teachers need to be qualified, and the institutions need to be accredited to make sure that we're all connecting and we're all doing our part to make sure that our kids are prepared.
And hopefully as states go further, they can really dig into the data too, to show the deltas of differences of, as we start preparing our high school kids to some degree while in college. If there is that progress toward degree and retention and GPAs that are higher, hopefully that'll address some of those skeptics. And it's not without, even in a state like Montana where everyone gets along, look, there were some challenges between higher education and the K-12 system in setting this up. And it takes, why does a group like this gather? It takes leaders to say, well, we got to get beyond our silos and barriers and figure out what the ultimate objective is.
And I just think we need to continue to use data to make better decisions. We're going to continue to have limited resources, and so we have to do the due diligence and make sure that we're putting those resources where we can get the biggest impact. And that's a necessity for our students succeeding. So we have to be very, very frugal and really, really data-driven on how we're making the decisions that we are moving forward.
Do we still have time?
We got time for one more, probably, Governor.
There's one more. Yes, ma'am. In this, yes. You must be a teacher.
In the access, you removed a lot of barriers to access, but especially when you talk about the rural differences, in Ohio in particular, the school districts have widely varying resources available to them. Their funding, their resources, the number of colleges, their budgets. So can you talk a little bit about driving out equity of outcomes?
Well, so the outcomes, the desire of this is regardless of the wealth or the location of the particular school district, that the same support is there for students. So it should provide equal opportunity for students all across the state, regardless of their circumstances of their school, their district, their community, or their family. So looking at outcomes, we will be studying the data longitudinally very, very closely and very carefully to make sure that we are seeing the kinds of outcomes that we want to see across all student groups, across all communities, across all regions of the state. So And if we see in the data that in fact it's not proving to be that's the case, we'll have to investigate what the triggers for those differences, those gaps are, and be able to address those in policy moving forward.
And I think the map showed, I mean, we are in every single school district, but I showed the varying level of really offering the classes and the kids taking advantage of that. And so we need to do the same thing. It just requires reaching out, following up, look at the schools that are just seeing great success. What are they doing differently? But everybody has the same access, so we just have to find what that driver is. Why are students more receptive in the certain areas and not in others? And it's mixed. So there are some rural schools that are just knocking it out of the park and doing great things, and some of the larger ones aren't. So it's all across the board, and we just need to dig down, do a deeper dive, and find out what's causing the success in the schools that are seeing that.
There is a mathematical piece of this that I guess I need to add. In the calculus of the per credit hour ceiling and floor, it was calculated using the mean of the state subsidy for the state. So if you're a very, very wealthy district, we're not using that, but if you're a very, very poor district, we're not using that either. And again, you can a very poor district could negotiate with a post-secondary partner at the floor level, so they could negotiate for lower rates.
Please join me in thanking our plenary panel, Governor Bullock for leading on this, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, and Rebecca Watts.